Welcome back, you guys. I know it's been a while since I made a video. Sometimes you just gotta wait for the motivation. And today I am motivated to tell you about round edge wheels versus square edge wheels. So right here we have some Spitfire Classic shape, which is your traditional sort of round edge wheel. And then we got the Spitfire tablets right here. And these are super square, like almost no radius on these from start till when you're done riding them. And before we get right into it, yes, of course there are other brands. So Bones has a V2, which is really similar to this. And then their V1s and V5s are more of a round edge wheel, similar to these. This is gonna be a general overview because width is also gonna make a difference. So we'll try to get into that a little bit, but not too much. It's mostly just about how the edge of the wheel, whether it's round or square, affects your skating. There's a lot of pros here for the round edge wheels. I've got so many notes. I think I'll have to go back to it. All right, you guys, I have all my notes in my phone here. I know most of them off the top of my head, but I'll have to double check real quick to make sure I cover everything. Let's get into round wheels. Round wheels are my preference. So I really love the classic shape, and the reason I love them is because of the round edge, and I also prefer the way they look. When I look down at a skateboard with roundish wheels, I feel like I'm looking at my skateboard. Whenever I look at one with square wheels, it feels like somebody else's skateboard. Obviously, this is totally subjective, and it's gonna depend on what you like the look of best. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get into practical things. Okay, one of the main reasons I like round edge wheels is when I'm flipping my skateboard, it's a little bit easier for it to tip and roll over. So when I'm doing something like a 360 flip or a frontside flip, it starts flipping with me as soon as I start doing the trick. Whereas a square edge wheel feels a little bit slower. We'll get into that in a bit. So a faster flip. Another reason that I like round edge wheels is they're often lighter. Because of that cutaway profile, there's just less material there, so the wheel often feels and looks lighter. Another thing it does is it often widens your grind space. Because round edge wheels often tend to be narrower, you usually have more space between your wheels. And to add a little bit more to that, it also increases your grind clearance. I'm gonna have to go to one of these ledges to try and explain that. All right, so let's take something like a crooked grind. So most people aren't gonna think about this because it's like, we're getting pretty nitpicky here. But when you have more of the wheel cut away, and in skateboarding, you know, 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch can make a big difference. There's just less wheel to get in the way when you're jumping onto the ledge. So it's this little, you know, rounded over part right here doesn't get in the way. So you have a bit more space. So this is not truck room. This is like grind space clearance. And where I find this helpful is for somebody like me who's been trying to learn frontside crooked grinds for a long time. When I have like a narrower round edge wheel, I find that my chances of actually getting into a trick actually increase when I have, again, a narrower round edge wheel. Another trick that I find a round wheel helps me for is getting into slappies. So as I'm carving in and getting ready to ride up the curb, that round edge of a wheel just kind of helps me get onto the curb. Hanging onto the curb is another matter. We'll get into that in square edge wheels. Another thing about round edge wheels is I find they grind smoother. Because the edge is rounded over, when you're pinched into a crooked grind, a feeble grind, or even a 50-50 on something like a flat bar or transition, that round edge has less friction because it's got this sort of round, smooth surface that it's helping roll the wheel with. It's not a sharp edge that you're dragging across any of those surfaces. All right, and the last thing I like about round edge wheels is because of the round edge, they usually have a much narrower contact patch, and because of that, they tend to slide a little easier. So when I need to revert out of a flip trick, or if I'm doing a nose slide, tail slide, blunt slide, any of those things, it slides a lot faster and easier than a wide wheel. All right, you guys, now, before you think round wheels are the best thing since sliced bread, there are actually some downsides. One of them is they're a lot more bumpy on rough ground because they usually have a smaller contact patch. Unless you find, you know, the glorious wide wheel with a round edge. Those exist, like a radial or the Bones V4 wide. So yeah, they feel a little more chattery, a little more bumpy. They also wear down faster, and they also flat spot easier. Another thing they do is they can feel a little bit squirrely, especially on like a tight wheelbase board with tight wheelbase truck. There's just the added roundiness of the wheel. Like, you really feel it. And then it can also, if you're not used to a round edge wheel, it can make your tricks feel like they flip around too easily, and it's gonna mess up your timing. So that narrow contact patch can also feel really slippery if you're used to a wider contact patch wheel. So that's another downside to a narrow round edge wheel. And also, they don't hang on to grinds as well. So if you're on super rounded over pool coping, or a big wide flat bar, or a super rounded over crusty curb or a ledge, they're gonna slip off a little bit easier. And if there's any other downsides, I don't know. I don't know them. I tend to look past them because I like these ones the best. Okay, now it's time for us to get on to square edge wheels. So it's not as simple as just inversing everything. Wait, yeah, it kind of is that simple. Anyways, let's get into what some of the benefits of square edge wheels are. All right, so a square edge wheel, because the edges are square and go straight up, even a skinnier version like a tablet is gonna have a pretty wide riding surface. So that wide riding surface is going to be more stable. So your board's gonna feel not quite so tippy. It's also going to be more durable, so it'll last longer, and it's gonna be less likely to flat spot. My least favorite thing about a square edge wheel, aside from how they look, and again, that's personal preference. It doesn't mean I hate your board if you have square edge wheels. I don't like my board if I have square edge wheels. So I don't like the way they flip. I really personally notice a big difference when skating a square edge wheel. What it feels like to me is it feels like I have to get the board off the ground before it flips. And then only once the wheels have left the ground will the board actually flip over, and it feels like it flips really fast. So if you get used to that, it actually feels really good, and I can still do all of my flip tricks on a square edge wheel. It's not like it stops me from doing any of it. It's just not my preference. I just don't like how delayed the flip is and then how fast it is after. So I find that I feel much more comfortable and my tricks feel more fluid on a round edge wheel. All right, but let's get back to those pros again, not the cons. So if you like that feeling, then of course you're gonna prefer the square edge wheel and that sort of delayed and really fast flip. And one of the other biggest pros about a square edge wheel is how well they lock into ledges. Not just ledges, of course, but coping, flat bars, especially when you get into wider ones and more worn down ledges, there is a difference. But the drawback to having that nice square edge to help you lock in is there is more friction, so you might either need a little more speed or a little more wax to be able to actually get the length of grind that you would out of a round edge wheel while you're slipping off of it because you have a round edge wheel. So it's all a trade-off, right? Okay, now the cons for these wheels, we got into the one where it can change the way your flip tricks feel if you're used to round edge wheels. And we also covered that it makes your grinds feel a little slower. One of the other things it does, especially if you get into some of the wider ones, like right here I've got a lock-in. So this is considerably wider than this tablet, and I find that it just makes my board look and feel really big and bulky. There's usually a lot more weight in square edge wheels, and I don't know if half of it is my perception, but when I look down and I see those bulky wheels, I feel like my board is heavy, and not only just noticing it in the timing and the pop feel. They can also be pretty sticky. If you're used to a narrow contact patch and you go to a wheel with a really wide contact patch, especially in a grippier formula, you can really notice that they're very grippy and you might not be sliding out of your tricks properly. So you guys remember I mentioned that weird sort of diagonal grind clearance. You're gonna get a bit less of it on a square edge wheel, especially if you go to a wide square edge wheel like a conical full. Where's my mic? Oh, there's my mic. And personally, I also find that it can be a little bit harder to get into slappy grinds when I have a really square edge wheel, especially when I have a truck that has a different geometry than I'm used to. So I'll just give one quick example. There was one day where I was riding these lock-ins on some Venture highs, and for some reason I was skating the same curb I skate all the time and I was doing the same tricks I was trying to do all the time, and I just couldn't get that wheel to pop over into my slappy crooks properly. So it's minor, but I noticed it. All right, you guys, we're almost done this, but there is just a little bit more to cover. So if you want to be able to lock in easier on round wheels, I have found that when you have a truck that is narrower than your board, the roundness of the wheel starts to be canceled out because your center of gravity is closer into the center of the board, making it less likely to lose your lock on your grinds. Conversely, if you want to ride wide trucks on a narrower board, I've found that having a big wide square wheel can again put your center of gravity closer into the center of the board. And also, even if you want to ride wide trucks with a narrow square-edged wheel, wider trucks than your deck, having that square edge is going to make it easier to lock in. But what I have found personally is that when I ride something like, say, an 8.5 truck on an 8.25 board and I have classic shaped wheels, while I like that the wheels make my truck combo look a little smaller and fit the board better, I find that I don't lock in very well. Whereas when I was riding round wheels with an 8.125 board with 8-inch trucks, I know, guys, sorry, it's hard to follow all this, but when I had narrower trucks than a board and round edge wheels, I locked in well. So that's just a couple of final notes on this long and hopefully not confusing subject. Anyways, it's time for me to skate. Hopefully there's a little bit of extra skating clips that we can show you guys here. And also, it's hot. I gotta get out of all this filming gear and into my summer skate attire. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll close it out with a little bit of skating. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Yeah. There we go. How unsatisfying. All right, you guys, time for the B-roll skate sesh. Check out my shoe. I've hit my ankle a couple of times. Just that. It's not that bad, but damn, bloody shoe. But yeah, doing okay. Got a little bit of jumper's knee going on. That's part of the reason I haven't been filming a lot.
I didn't like drag or anything.
Yeah,
Mid-mani,
just updating you guys. So I'll show you what my current setup is real quick. These blazers are doing awesome, by the way. I got them for me and I got some for my son. I'm gonna review them eventually once they're totally thrashed. They're still in such good shape. I like these. These are my second favorite shoes ever. My first favorite were the Blazer lows. So the only way these shoes could be better for me is if they were lows. Took me a bit to get used to the mids. Oh, that was the review. We're done. Now go watch the original Blazer review and then add mid onto it and we don't even need to make it. Okay. All right, setup. What am I riding these days, you guys? We got the 8.25 steep and sturdy. Really like these boards. Concave's like a little bit on the mediumness. Kicks are tail slightly steeper than the nose, which is slightly off trend, but I actually like it better because, you know, when I'm popping switch and regular, I'm on my non-dominant foot, right? So I actually like the nose being a bit mellower, still nice and big. And we got the 144, so 8 1/4 indies, hollows with a regular base plate. So hollow kingpin, hollow axle, regular base plate. And, you know, my good old-fashioned Spitfire Classics, Formula 4, 52mm, Quantum Atoms. I've been on these bearings for like 3 months. They're still, you know, like, they're good. I don't have time to wait for them to stop spinning. I want to skate. Getting a big crack. Oh, next one. Now that I know it's sticky, I can push. Oh, you guys, the knee's flaring up already. It's rare that I find a ledge too sticky for a back tail. Let's get it. Do I feel lucky?
Yeah. I have it.
Is it going to be first try today?
I got taken down on everything.
No. Little ledge juice. Just on the edge. Don't want to make it all crazy for everyone. Not a lot of dip, but it worked. That one was really no dip.
Back lip.
Too much dip. All right, hey, front feebles. This is the hardest flat bar to hang on to those for me. So fast. That's the scariest thing, locking the wrong side of your truck and going over. I'm not committing to being on top of it because it's scary. Gotta get that body weight over top of the rail. Oh, and that time I had my body weight over top of the rail, and then my body weight wound up over top of my board, which wound up over top of my foot. Should have kept the last one.
Last one was perfect.
Yeah, I know. You gotta end it on a high note. That wasn't it.
Ooh, I don't see you
nice.
try those often.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Nice.
Aha! Special meter wins again. Let's get another blunt.
Yeah?
Yeah. What do you guys say we do another blunt or two, huh? And then I'm getting tired. You know, I just filmed like a whole video before this, you guys. Oh, that was so close to a slam. I think I'm gonna go for the switch flip instead. Rocket flips aren't making me happy. Because I tried to come up regular. My knees flared up. My Achilles tendonitis on my left foot is flared up. The ankles flared up. What else? The only thing that's not bugging me is the plantar fasciitis. guys often ask me like, Ben, you ever get injured or things and stuff? Yeah, I've always got something going on. Just like every other skater, 30 plus, 40 plus. I always got something, just gotta skate through it. Or know when to not skate. And for me, that's stopping skating right now and getting to work. So yeah, hope you guys are doing awesome. Hopefully that wasn't too much gratuitous footage at the end of a topical video. And use your topical videos wisely. Till the next one.